So there's a quarterly it falls for a just boring cycle. Sorry. I'm not doing long. So if we should buy that, that's for the yes, they're big food, like so excited that there was I know Gloria very much. You see her there all the time. Oh, that's nice. They're gonna be listening with experience. So John, like I'm getting mine was the field of eggs. All the day and right? I love it. Right. I'm just wondering. Yeah. I said I did take the snap release of the script. So that was big. Then it goes. I was supposed to run this. Like, back days, yeah, it's the very one saying, I didn't look at it. I said, you know, like, it's a question. The such a good spouse, yeah, and I think the next, I yes. Yeah, China does it. And I can write this as a road. Just it's fine. And I'm full of something. I need to get something. Okay, yeah. That's why I was gonna go with this. And I think like I might say we also like that's standing out. It's like huge. Let's say Stephen they are one of their redundant things. I'd love to. And I said to them,
Victoria? I really and it's great. Oh, okay. John is very good. Yeah.
Just saying, I have tons of pictures. Right. I've never seen it to you guys. Send you some. Okay. The document site, that was from young taking pictures, but like the channel to us is stuff. Me, my thing. See, it's they need to get so their minds go me and send them. That's a fun thing to do in Venice. But I started, I mean, even they. So you can do it online. Yeah.
But yeah, I was with that company.
Yeah.
That probably.
It's that way every time. I mean, you know. I just stay. It's like. I'll say so. Or you
Well, you had this last year. And you might want to pause it out. Yeah. Or the phone shelf, but to make sure it's the most effective. Seven something like it. Yeah. You could do it. Yeah. 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 Where's the link? I just did. It's like. Oh, okay. Is it open on the Teams?
I haven't shared my screen. Where's present?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you present?
Desktop. Oh, no,
Viewing, open in desktop.
oh, okay. It's just easier. And I already had it open in desktop, so I'm not sure. That was the first slideshow. Oh, okay. Either way. Great.
So
There's still nobody in the team.
so are you screen sharing the presentation from here? So I don't have to do it from mine. You just have to be able to Teams call. Okay, so they can see me. Got it.
I see them.
Are you joining us?
Kick me out.
Is this it? Oh,
No.
here you are. You haven't shared your screen.
I did before, but I.
Oh, it goes down. Why won't this open big?
Oh, this one. I think mine like this one.
Grit is going to one park and pulling an invasive English ivy vine and then looking up and seeing 10 more. Grit is clearing a patch of porcelain berry and then coming back the next summer just to find that it's encroaching back on the area that that's not failure. That's just our parks, our natural areas, and our ecosystems reminding us that grit is essential because this is a long-term battle. It matters incredibly when our leaders value the slow and consistent progress towards success. It's often unglamorous work, as we can often attest to when we're out there in the physical grit, literal mud, rain, what have you. But I want to recognize Supervisor Dolly Palchik for our support and that slow and consistent pace towards success in our parks. The grit is how our landscapes change. It's slowly, then all at once. And while the people that visit our parks may not recognize your name here in 10, 20, 30 years, the landscape will speak and attest for all the work that you've done. And that will become clear when they make their visits and appreciate the natural spaces that you have helped reinforce and create. So thank you all very much. And I'd like to introduce Dolly Palchik.
All right, well, thank you all so much. First of all, big round of applause, especially I've been elected now for 10 years, so halfway through the 20th anniversary. How many of you have been doing IMA or IMA for at least 10 years? Oh my gosh, how many have been doing it for before the pandemic? Well, big round of applause. I'm excited to be here. It's funny. I have a quote, but I spend a lot of time watching things with my 4-year-old. So my quote, if any of you know PJ Masks, there are three heroes, I think originally French, and their quote is "into the night to save the day" because they're in their PJs and they go out at night. So trying to come up with a good quote. Into the vines to save the forest, the rhyme. So if you can come up with a good one, every time I watch the PJ Masks heroes and the little girl, her name is Owlette, she's an owl. All I think about is our incredible tree rescuers and our volunteers who really are those invisible heroes going into the forest to save the land and save our community. IMA, as many of you know, started in 2006 with just 20 site leaders. Are here today. Some of those are and now we have more than 150 under IMA management, 65 sites and 75 states. Another big, just pat yourself on the well, you've logged over 300,000 volunteer, 40,000 volunteer, close to 10,000 over a third, and you filled many of those 34,000 bags. Invasive plant debris. I know I've been out there and with Hunter and my team especially to fill a few of those bags. I can't even fathom 34,000. Much more done. We have sites, my district, but I know many of you across the county, whether you are western part of the county, in the central part, the eastern part. We know there's so much that's been done. It's a little bit scary to think about how much more there still is to do, right? But I think as John mentioned, and to me, John is like the super ecologist who helps me learn every trail, which I love to walk, what we're looking at and native, what's invasive, ecosystem. And to be able to start to clean up some of the invasives, see the natural ecosystem as it should be, to me is the biggest gift we can give our little one. Give the next, really taking back the forest for the future of our community. I also got a chance to meet Lucas today, which is my nephew's name, so I'll always remember it. Lucas, who is newer to the Park Authority, but some of you may know or be involved with the early detection and rapid response system, which, we've done a lot of rapid response to the pandemic. And I love that the rapid response is something that we think about for our community forests and for our smaller neighborhoods, to really think about how can we be strategic? How can we map, because I love maps, the populations? How do we eliminate them and log them and try to be as strategic as we can with the limited resources, time that we always have and continue to have. So I love that it's not just about the beauty and going out there with our arms and digging and pulling, but also thinking about how to bring technology and innovation and strategic thinking into that work. I just came back from taking my daughter to my hometown, Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I was delighted to see not just my beautiful urban parks that I used to walk to that are really accessible to everyone, but they have started to log all of the trees. So they have an inventory of their trees, a lot less forest there than we have. It's a little bit easier to track the specific trees that have been growing. But to think about that, to me, as we've become a more urban area, even for me, especially in those moments, every single tree, every single piece of nature makes. So just to close it up, and I'm trying to think about how long I've known Patricia. It's been several years, and the incredible work that's done by the team, Gloria and everyone, and Anastasia. Thank you for what you do. I am very excited to now be chairing the Environment Committee, to get to continue to work with many of you, to grow work, and to continue to think about how we heal nature, how we heal ourselves by going out to nature, by being out in nature. And I think more than ever during the pandemic, people realize just how to have access, think about our natural environments. And as humans, we're placed in that environment. So to me, IMA is one of those things that everyone, and my hope, my dream, that for every site we have now, 65 sites, we come back, say in our 10-year mark, that we've doubled, quadrupled, we've brought in a whole generation, site leaders and volunteers. So thank you for what you do, as we say, La Pachamama, our Earth Mother. Thanks you for what you do. And I'm just so delighted to be able to highlight and continue to support that you do it and elevate it. Thank you. A big round of applause. I think you got my 4-year-old up there. She captured the outdoor environment, so I didn't try to bring her in today. She would have called this a boring meeting. But for those of us who love to be with community and with our supporters, thank you on behalf of Sivan and my 4-year-old, and all of the 4-year-olds in the community who have a better place.
Thank you.
Saying it, but thank you for coming and for everything that you all have done and contributed to help protect our parks. But most of you know me, I'm Gloria, and I will be introducing Torsha Bhattacharya, who is our division director for the stewardship and planning division. That's it. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Torsha Bhattacharya, Division Director for Stewardship and Planning. And I have been with the Park Authority for 1.5 years now. So pretty new, but all I can say is with the limited resources we have and the huge amount of work that is in front of us, none of us could have tackled this alone. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming together. And your passion is evident. Given the weather outside, the extreme weather outside, we have such a great turnout today. So I'm really, really grateful for your passion, for your love, for everything that's natural. So thank you so much once again.
Before we get started with the presentation, we're just going to take a quick group picture with the new IMA logo or for the 20th anniversary logo together. So,
He's gonna come right here. Everybody's gonna come and crowd the stage. Watch for cables. Yeah, please. Thank you.
I'll take it. Oh, how do you go upstairs? How do you, oh, I'll go upstairs. Do I go
Hunter can
upstairs?
Help you
Oh, Hunter?
from my team.
Oh, okay. Are you going upstairs or are you staying downstairs? So go upstairs, I'll stay downstairs. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll take it from this angle and you can.
This is your one last chance.
Yeah.
Many years galore.
Yeah. Wait till.
I will behave.
I'll get back.
Yes, I lived,
Portia, go behind Anastasia or scooting.
Yeah. I can.
Alrighty. You okay?
I was going to.
Are we all together? Scoot in. To make sure we have everybody. Yes, I think I have everybody. 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna do another one. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
asked by our marketing communications if you could do a video.
Oh, a video? Okay, alrighty.
To say portrait.
This way. Alrighty.
We're gonna say happy 75th anniversary to the park employees.
It's not available because you're on a call.
That's unjoined. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's right.
Is it J. Cole making sure we do?
Turn it this way. Turn it this way, Tamika, up and down. Up and down. Yeah, there you go.
Watch your
step.
Just do a pan.
Okay, okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy anniversary. Happy 75th anniversary.
Okay, got it.
Happy 75th anniversary. Okay. All right.
2, 1.
Happy 75th anniversary. And then now we can do another clip and say happy 20th anniversary invasive management area program. Yeah, let's say IMA.
Okay.
Okay. 1,
2,
3. Happy 20th anniversary. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna go around the room. Thank you so much. I'll send it to you. Yes, I was video, I was sharing my, I was sharing my camera, because I realized. Okay, yeah, I joined and I had the sound on.
How you been?
Yeah, so we're gonna, everybody's gonna go around the room, so everybody can say where their sites are. In the background, but we did that. So you're now screen and sound is on? I mean, your video and your sound is on, right?
Well, she's still sharing, but there's nobody.
You have the video recording, right? Yes. So your video and your sound is on. And we're gonna go. So maybe we can do this.
Around the room.
Okay.
I can help with that if you want. Go ahead.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go around the room and do introductions of our fellow site leaders. Just so we can all get acquainted with each other, make new friendships, and all the things, right?
Just for the sake of my name and site.
So you're just gonna go ahead and introduce yourself with your name and what is your site?
I'll just start here and then we'll just pass it on. Mike, okay?
Susan Lampley, Bill Park.
We have Courtney Sappin, Green Valley Park, and First Lake, a little bit in the south.
Margaret Coffee, Deer Lake Park. Aaron Meadow, Royal Park, Falls Church. Whitney Redding, the horse on Spring Valley, so you can watch it.
Well, it's John Wilson Horseman Road, which is like walking distance over that way.
Betty Hollingsdale, Underwood Park, Falls Church. Willie Martin, Oakton Community Park.
Joe Barney, Twin Lakes Golf Course, 75 acres. Chris Ridge and Great Falls Springs Park. Have they water from the houses.
And dark oak also included the interview.
Sarah Mayhew. I have two parks, Woodland Lake Park, which was the first one for sites, and Middle Ridge Park.
Susan Markham, and Plain Hunter State Park, who were also eligible provinces.
Margaret Fisher, Chapel Rose Park.
I'm Carol Walter. I have three parks, McLean Central, Woodsville, and Mitchell Road Parks in the park.
When Ford, I worked for her.
Terry Bennett and Greenway Heights Park in Flint. Greenway Heights and then my sister.
Davidson, 15 and I work primarily in Franklin.
Hi, Tucker Newberry, difficult run Stream Valley Park in Oakton.
Sarah Holtz, difficult run Stream Valley Park.
Theodore Tolkien. Jeannie Tambura. To Van Dorn, Royal Lakes Park in Burke. Deco Burke, Larchmont Park in Annandale. Woo! Did you introduce yourself? Yeah. Last of them.
Okay, well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves and hopefully you make new connections and friendships and work together along in the parks. And we're going to continue. So today, the whole point of the 20th anniversary, right? We're hoping to uplift the spirit of you guys, our volunteers who work so hard within our parks and, who steward our natural resources. So we want to start off by playing this lovely video for you guys. And yeah, so.
Stop sharing.
So you pause and then let me.
It's still up. It's sharing ready.
Can you stop sharing? Because it's not now, it's not.
You guys reconnect them. I took another 20 minutes, so we can't do each one. Okay. Unless you want to go connect to the HDMI cable.
Technology is not my profession. Okay, so.
Is it connected?
Yeah, let me just plug in. It's a great video, I promise.
It froze. Yeah. So Sarah, that's as soon as that can. Ah, this one. Hey.
Yeah. Yes.
Does it work if you go to slideshow at the top?
It's just, we're trying to make sure that it plays the sound. But if anything.
I guess no argument.
Sometimes,
Skip the video.
yeah, but what about, it's not gonna, I think it's too high.
Maybe you can listen to it. So what is the registration?
Yeah.
And then I'll just do click right at the same.
It might be where you.
I think we should just.
Like, just go down.
If anything, I just.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's in the field. All the time.
That I would.
Yeah.
Attention, 1, 2, 3.
Let's start back up.
Okay, so we're gonna skip the video. We don't want to waste any more time, so I'm sorry that we can't play the video, and we thank you for your patience. We're just gonna skip it so we can continue, because I know it's Saturday, people have other stuff to do. So thank you again. I'll just send out an email with the recording. And yeah, so I'm gonna go hand it off to Tamika Brown. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm Tamika Brown, and I get to serve here at the Park Authority as the Organizational Development and Training Manager. And I just want to say thank you to the IMA program team for inviting me to just come and facilitate this really brief session with you. But I would be remiss if I did not add to the hearty congratulations to you for the work that you've done since partnering with the IMA. You have come to learn so much about the work you do. I'm even wondering if I'm an offender, and how so, and how I can stop in terms of those plants that I'm probably buying this spring. So kudos to you. The next time I take a walk, I'll be looking for some of these things, and I might just, bring a glove and pick it up, But thank you so much for the work you do, and again, congratulations on your anniversary.
in terms of where we're going with the session today, just to set the context broadly in terms of what it is that you do, we are here to celebrate the work you do, to uplift your spirits as well, because we know the work you do is not easy. In fact, in preparing for the presentation, I came across two concepts that were new to me, that of eco-grief. Has anybody heard about eco-grief before? And then another one, eco-resilience. And eco-grief is pretty much just the despair and the hardship and the emotional reactions that people who are totally passionate and invested in what's happening in our environment and with the earth, when you see the adaptation, the challenges that's just going on all across the world, it's that feeling that you probably experience in a real way. That is just grief, but it's grief about what's happening to our environment. It's grief about what's happening in your community when you see the impact of invasive species and so on and so forth. So I thought that was fascinating. And we're going to talk a little bit more about eco-resilience as well, because you know about resilience. We all know about bouncing back, and COVID tested us and we're still here, so it means we're a pretty resilient bunch. But we're going to look at what that means from an eco lens. So in terms of where we're going, we just want to spend some time acknowledging the challenge, the work that you've done over the 20 years and the work that you're going to continue to do tomorrow and the next day and so on and so forth. And then of course, we're going to get to highlighting some of the wins that the achievements that you've been, the solid work that you've done over the period of time. It says I've been muted here. So I guess I'm on mute. Am I? It says I've been muted. Sorry, I'm just trying to respond to what's in front of me. All right. Then, of course, we're going to talk about some tools that can help you. I'm going to offer some tools that you can perhaps use tomorrow and the day after when it is that you are, struggling with that feeling of overwhelm, and then how to stay resilient. And then, of course, we're going to have a little activity and then we close out. So approximately 45 minutes to an hour is what we're going to be spending the next couple of minutes. Next slide. All right. So just to ground us in, basically, we know what the day-to-day work has felt like. We know what the challenges are. We know it's not been easy to get 20 years and so on and so forth. And we know what's facing us for the rest of this year and the years to come. And one of the things that I wanted to do as we get started was just to kind of locate how you're feeling today at this stage. We just started off 2026. And probably a little late. Today is probably the last official day to say Happy New Year, but we're thinking about the year ahead. So I wanted to find out from you, how is the work of managing, volunteering, supporting, tackling all the challenges in invasive management? How's that work been feeling for you? So I'm going to ask you to be thinking about what emotions come up for you when you think about, oh my goodness, this is what we're looking at. When you think about your parks, you just introduced yourselves and you shared about your parks, where you're sited and so on and so forth. What's coming up for you when you think about the scope of work to be done this year and the years to come, and even preparing for the rest of this year? What's the emotion that you're feeling? Just kind of wanted to locate our center back. So how has the work been feeling? You have some post-it notes in front of you on the table. I'm going to ask you to take one of those post-it notes and just to write a word on it. What emotion surfaces for you? What is the thought that comes to you when you think about how the work has been feeling for you lately? Yeah, we'll take that one too. So as you think about the word or words in terms of how the work now feels for you, and I heard excited in the back of the room, but whatever comes to mind or whatever emotion is surfacing for you, I want you to write that on your post-it, and I want you to stick it on one those sticky charts, those 2 sheets of paper on the wall over there. As soon as you've written your word or words, just post it on one of the flip charts that we have on the wall. Who's going to read? No, it doesn't matter which side. If you can project, it's fine. Yeah. Have we all posted the thought, the emotions? What's coming up for us? All right, I'm gonna ask Anastasia to read what you shared on the post-its. So what did you see, Anastasia?
It's worldwide. Hopeful and optimistic. You feel alive. You almost feel overwhelmed. Energized again. Hopeful. Connected. You feel connected to nature. Insurmountable. Is excited. Feeling frustrated. Overwhelmed again. Hopeful. Therapeutic. And exhilarating. Impatient as well, and sometimes you can't do as many as
That's all together. Yeah, and that pretty much tracks with if you took up any article and you read about what's happening in the field, what you just shared in terms of how the work feels to you is reflective of the experience of people who volunteer and demonstrate or donate so much of their time and energy. I heard the statistics that were shared by the supervisor, and when you think about what that means in numbers form, it should tell you something about the impact that you've had. So having said all of that, one of the things that I wanted to locate is what I came across in terms of what the research says about volunteer fatigue, especially as it pertains to the kind of work that you do. First and foremost, none of what you said is unique to you. This is a common thread and theme that comes up for people who work in this particular area. Volunteer fatigue is real. Basically, in terms of conservation and park research, what it tells you is that whether you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling excited, it's not a function of your degree of commitment or even your capacity. It really is just a function of some of the stresses that naturally come with the work. So if you think about fighting the vine, so to speak, trying to keep up with, you clear this area last month, last year, and this spring you're going back out and you're seeing the same thing come up again, and the work just feels tedious and repetitive and all that kind of stuff. The emotional weight that comes with, again, working in degraded areas or ecosystems that are threatened. That's another part of what threatens and stresses people like you who do this work. And then, of course, we know about impact, but in a lot of instances, if you were to put a bucket underneath a drip, it would probably take a long time to fill up, and you'd probably say nothing is happening. But even though the impact might be slow and you may not readily realize the impact of what you're doing is having, then basically that becomes another stressor. And then, of course, physically, it's demanding work to constantly, you know how strenuous it is between bending and pulling and tugging, and you're doing all of this without high technology tools and so on and so forth. So all of these are factors that certainly serve as stressors in terms of the work and adds to the emotional and physical stress that some people can experience while doing it. All right. Another piece of it is the perceived futility. What difference is this making? Because it could feel as you work in your small area that I'm not making a difference, or you're not seeing the impact, or you're not so sure because progress can be so slow. But at the end of the day, this does not negate from the fact that ecologically the work you're doing is meaningful and important. And then, of course, there is, like I tell you, these words, eco anxiety, eco grief, and so on and so forth. And it's just what happens when repeatedly you're exposed to the invasive spread of and habitat loss. I was talking to one of the volunteers earlier, and she was just sharing how she went on next door and saw one of her neighbors was planning to plant bamboo that would have been really detrimental to the area, and she just lost it because she's like, what are you doing? You know, and it's going to Home Depot and seeing the plants on sale, which you know are detrimental, and it's like, I care so much about this and everybody else is walking around clueless, you know. And I know how maddening and frustrating that must be, you know, to not have much control in terms of what that comes, and of course all the emotions. And then of course it's the tireless job of advocacy, advocating, and the frustration that comes with it. So just wanted to surface that this is what the research says is common about people who work in this space. And just to say, if you're feeling any of these things, you're not alone. And it's pretty much part and parcel of some of the challenges that we have to struggle with in the area. But all is not lost. Just kind of trying to paint a picture in terms of what you might be dealing with. So one of the key things to do as you think about the challenges, the stressors, the difficulties, the hardships associated with the work, the truth of the matter is, and you know this more than I do because you're all the experts, I'm not, invasive species grow fast, and it may feel in some instances that you're fighting a battle that you're not winning, and the work is continuous. But what is also true is that every removal from every space that you do creates space for something native to grow. So every time you pull a weed, you pull a plant, you're creating space for natural and the native plants to thrive. And the fact of the matter is, this is not a sprint. I'm from Jamaica and we're famous over the sprints. You know, we only have the fastest man or woman in the world. And regardless of how fast any of those athletes can run, we would never last a second against those Kenyans who are doing these 10,000 miles and they just keep going and going and going and they speed up. When I'm like, how are you still running? So it's a marathon. You don't take the sprint approach to a marathon, because if you do, I mean, it's just not going to work. So it's acknowledging again that we are in a marathon and it's not a one season effort. For those who were a part of the initial program 10 years, 20 years ago, regardless of when you joined it, those 34,000 bags that we spoke about took a while to get to 34,000, and they will continue to grow. So the challenge for you, recognizing that change is cumulative and this is something that is happening over time, is to reframe your thoughts in terms of, rather than thinking about eradication, perhaps the other mindset to be thinking about is the restorative capacity that you have created by virtue of what you're clearing and what it is that you're removing from the areas that you work and support and your parks. So it's reframing that challenge. And before we kind of get further into the weeds, I think this is where Anastasia joins in to kind of give you a sense of some of that impact that we've been talking about.
It can't be a celebration without recognizing our wins. So we're going to go ahead and recognize all the hard work you guys done in the parks. And yeah, woo, 20 years of awesome work. Go ahead. So for this year or last year, for 2025, we have cumulatively put in over 1,800 native plants back in our parklands. Woo! Plus over 75 pounds of our native seed mix. So that's a lot of native plants we're reintroducing back into our parks after we remove these invasive species. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Also, on the herbicide use, as you guys know, we've implemented the herbicide use this past year, and it's going well. And you guys are out there killing all the things that we're trying so hard to kill. And this past year, we've had 54 volunteers trained using herbicide in our parks who've logged over 500 hours. So that guys are doing great work. You guys have killed, hopefully they don't return this year, right? Over 10,000 plants. So you guys are doing great work tackling those invasive species. And here's some fun photos of our fellow site leaders. We have Tucker and Sarah here demonstrating that herbicide use. So that's over 4,000 square feet in our parks and plus 9 acres. So you guys are really out there doing great work, really trying to kill those invasive species. Along with that, we've had 5 dumpsters full of plant debris, plus 4,000 bags of invasive plant debris. So you guys are doing really great work getting that stuff out of our parks. And we've had over 1,000 work days. So you guys are out in the parks getting more volunteers in our parks with Scouts, Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts, Boy Scouts, corporate groups. So you guys are really trying to educate our fellow community members on these things. We've had over 4,000 casual volunteers come into our parks and help with our invasive removal. And yeah. And that's over 10,000 hours. So you guys are really committed in showing your passion out there and really trying to advocate for this type of work. Our tree rescue program has been going incredibly well this year. We're really expanding and we're getting a lot more tree rescuers interested in this program. So we had over 15 group work days with tree rescuers. And we've had our tree rescuers log over 900 hours. So the tree rescuers are also doing really good in the IMA program. And currently we have over 75 people who are interested in being trained to become an official tree rescuer. So you guys are spreading the word and you guys are doing great work. I'd also like to point out our EDRR program, the Early Detection and Rapid Response. Lucas has been doing really great work in logging those, invasive species that haven't exactly gotten a foothold in the parks. But you guys have been doing great work. I see some of you, and I've been out in the field with some of you doing those work. So that's just a fun picture with some of my colleagues here. But you guys are reporting hours, and we've had over 100 hours for those EDRR species. And I'm just going to show some before and after so you can see, the hard work you guys have done. So we see this is nothing new, right? Every time we turn around, this is what we're seeing in the parks, unfortunately. But after a hard day's work or even a few sessions, we get an area cleared out and it feels like a breath of fresh air, right? So hopefully with the herbicide too, it stays that way, right? That's Kent Gardens. And then this is Blake Lane Park. We had a Girl Scout troop come in and clear an area that also has a little bit of Tree of Heaven. So hopefully that stays dead too, right? Board Street is another good example, overrun with things like porcelain berry. And then we were able to remove those things to get native species in there that promote our pollinators and birds and bees, right? Difficult Run Stream Valley is another example of all the hard work you guys have been putting in. We've had numerous scout groups over there removing invasives. We have, the big guys and then, some newer stuff, Pachysandra over there that they're selling in Home Depot, right? Coming in, all these things. So it's always nice to see when we get those things removed from the park. Here's Deer Lake, they have a pretty big wisteria problem at Deer Lake. So getting that stuff removed and, restoring balance in the park is another good example. And after that, we're going to go back to Tamika. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all those stats we had for last year. And I hope you guys keep up the great work because it really does make a difference. Even though it doesn't feel like it, you guys are really doing really great work. Woo.
Thank you, Anastasia. And because we did see lots of reactions that said excitement and energy and enthusiasm and all the things for the rest of 2026, we want to channel a whole lot more of that moving forward. And I'm just going to offer up a couple tools that might be helpful in having us, make the switch on that day when we are struggling with a little feeling of frustration or anger or annoyance at Home Depot and or the neighbor, or you go on next door and you see something,
just some tools that we can perhaps be leveraging to tackle those emotions and feelings. And the first one is, it's pretty obvious, like I said, and this is just, like I said, not intended to, be groundbreaking, but it's just recentering and thinking through, okay, what are some of the things that you actually have control of? So the first thing to really do is to focus on your sphere of control. We are not going to solve world hunger today, nor are we going to achieve world peace, nor are we going to stop environmental degradation and or the of invasive species across the world. That's just not the task, and that's just not the goal for today. So what we can do is think about our park. What we can do is think about our front yard, our backyard, our community, the parks that you serve and are aligned to, the people who you impact, and the conversations where you're educating and advocating, and you focus on there. That's where your energies are directed. Because if you think about it, it's like there's this I don't even know if it's a famous quote, but it says, how do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. So it's eating the elephant every single day. When you go out to do the work, you're not trying to take on that whole thing. Let me just grab the toe, and that's all I'm chewing today. So focus. Yeah, I know. We're not eating elephants, by the way. There are a set of people who are in a room talking about people who are hurting elephants. So that's not what we're trying to do in real life. But yeah, so if you think about the area where you have some kind of sphere of influence and control, where you can create awareness, where you can continue to advocate, where you can continue to educate, that's basically where it is that you want to focus on. Like I said, we don't have control about how hot the days are going to get, how cold they're going to get, the climate patterns that are just crazy. Like, we don't have control of that. So we're just going to focus on, like we said, our own sphere of control, the areas that you steward, how much you volunteer, how many people you recruit, what you remove in a session or sessions, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the strategies, just to keep us kind of grounded. The next tool or strategy to kind of help you manage the feelings of overwhelm, or just stay engaged and stay excited and energized about the work you do, is the mindset. In a lot of instances, we grapple between two mindsets, the contribution mindset and the outcome mindset. And if you are operating from the outcome mindset, the question you might ask yourself after a session is, did we eliminate invasive species in the particular area? And if you ask the question, and I see one of my volunteers here nodding, and the answer is no, then, that can make you probably walk away feeling a little discouraged and the rest of it. And the truth of the matter is, that's perhaps not the most realistic question to even ask yourself. But if you're making the shift from the contribution mindset to the outcome mindset, then the question you may ask yourself is, what did I enable for the ecosystem? What did I make possible by virtue of the clearing that we did today with the Girl Scouts, with that corporate group, with just our group of people who have been dedicatedly coming to Twin Lakes, to Berkeley, to Laurel Hill? What did I make possible today? And if you ask yourself, what did I make possible today? You're bound to come up with an answer, because the clearing that you did created a space for native life to flourish. It created a space for the ecosystem to restore and to repair itself. So the encouragement I have for you is to shift from the contribution mindset and to shift to the more positive and sustaining mindset, which is the outcome, where, of course, so that's what we want you to do in terms of how you are making the shift in terms of mindset. The next tool I'd like to offer up in terms of just a way to approach the work that you do is to celebrate the micro wins. I heard the smiles, I looked at the faces when you saw yourselves in photographs, and you saw basically what it is that you were able to do and achieve. And you should be proud of all that work that you have done. I mean, the amount of bags that you've cleared, the dumpster trucks that I just saw Anastasia shared in terms of just even your local and immediate impact, and the number of hours and so on and so forth. That's work you did. That's the work that you woke up and chose to do. Not because you're being paid, not because you're super incentivized. You woke up and you chose.
to serve. And not to serve anybody, but to serve your environment. And I think there's so much that can be said. I cannot say enough, but it's important that you take a moment to celebrate those micro wins day after day, to support each other, the peer support. You know the challenges more than anybody can. So in the process of it all, take a selfie at the end of the day, send them to Anastasia and Patricia, and because I mean you do the work and you walk away from it, but you're not taking the picture. So I challenge you every single time you go, yep, even if you don't think you're feeling your cutest, take the picture. Take the picture and don't keep the picture to yourself. Send it to them so we can continue to post, share, and to use that as fuel for the work that we do. The other thing that we could do is to practice what we call restorative reflection. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that just now. And after any of the sessions that you go out into the parks, wherever it is that you're doing the work, I want you to pause and acknowledge what you've accomplished. So again, the question, what did today's work make possible? Because this will help you close the day with a sense of meaning rather than, okay, I'm tired. Yes, you're tired. That's a physical piece of it. That's the fatigue, but you'll have more than the fatigue that you are thinking about as you think about that. And then, of course, connect your actions for larger impact. Because like we said, what did you make possible? Recognize the fact that every removal creates room for native species to grow. That's just a fact. And we know that this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint event. It's a marathon. So your work has an impact in terms of long-term biodiversity. The fact that you've been able to reintroduce native plants and so on and so forth, build awareness, sustain interest. And even like I said, I'm walking away from this more curious now when I go shopping for plants in spring and fall. I'm going to pull out Google, which is a useful tool, like take a picture and ask, is this an invasive species? Because Lowe's might still be selling it. Home Depot might still be selling it. I can't control that. I can control, however, what I put in my cart and what I take to my community and what I buy. So that tool is in my hand. I'm going to use that to make sure I'm a lot more conscious because I saw this cute little, I don't remember what, this little yellow decorative, which I always thought was so cute. And I was like, this is an invasive? Like I was today's years old when I found out that, you know, so it's the education and all of that is only possible by virtue of just being involved with the work you do for a couple of days. So just think about as people get more awareness and so on and so forth, what it is that we could do. So connect the work that you're doing with the larger impact and just recognize that, yes, like it says, it may be tiny seeds, but certainly there's a broader conservation mission that you're on, and it's going to take years and so on and so forth. But as Supervisor Dalchik says, you are creating a better environment for the 4-year-old, for my 15-year-old, and so on and so forth. All right. And I think that was the last one. So what I want you to do now is to, at your table groups, just kind of have a conversation in your table groups about a moment when you saw the impact of your work. Most recently, it could be that you're talking last year, you're talking 5 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever that moment was. We're not going to restrict time in terms of that reflection, but talk about a moment when you saw the impact of your work. One of the strategies that keeps you motivated and energized and enthusiastic and feeling like, yeah, I can win this fight against the vine. And I hope you have for the next 20 years. So I want you to have a conversation about that in your table groups. And then after you have spent about 5 minutes doing that, we're going to do some popcorn where you just randomly share what you came up with. So have a conversation around these 3 points. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that. And then we're going to kind of surface what you came up with. All righty then. I know we could talk about this forever. Hello. I like shouting. All right, let's bring it back together. I know that this is a topic you could talk about forever. And in fact, as I wandered around the table, I heard some really cool insights and could just see the excitement and the emotions playing out as you had the conversations in terms of, as I heard one table group says, like even just clearing the space and giving the plants an opportunity to breathe. That's not language I had, but if you think about it, when you clear all those invasive species and so on and so forth, you're giving the natives that are down there struggling like, you know, they could breathe. And if you think about how that breath feels for you when you're able to take a breath, you know, I talk to the plants in my house. I have many of them, you know, you know, just think about, you know, the work you're doing in a real way. So it was really cool to kind of hear some of that conversation. So just to surface what might have come up at the table and the degree of comfort you have in sharing, let's start with the first one. A moment when you saw the impact of your work. And I'm just going to ask tables to, you know, wonderful. See, I didn't even have to beg. Let's go.
So finding natives under invasive, which has been removed. Filling a big dumpster in a short period of time, showing how you can get volunteers to work. And also uncovering or seeing a native tree that thrives after it's been cleared of the native.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. How about our next table over here?
We talked about mustard was eliminated from their backyard. So Sarah's going from 40 bags of garlic mustard to 20 bags of garlic mustard, 0 bags of garlic mustard to mentoring an Eagle Scout who cleaned her in the eye to the point where on his third project, he was able to communicate with his volunteers and direct. And his mom coming to Sarah and crying gratitude for the mentorship that she had. And an experience I had just a week ago with the It's a Green group at Oakton High School where Izzy, the president, was very enthusiastic in and reminded me that she had been at one of our IMA sessions where I had brought her to my house to give her a native sunflower. And now she is going to Virginia Tech as an engineer and wants to get into environmental engineering.
Wow.
So, impact on kids.
Testimony. Yeah. Generational. Table behind you.
Community space or so that's and through Carol's group work in Louisville Park particularly, but also in Churchill, we've been able to clear out areas where we've now established exposures with native plants inside of the vegetation. So being able to see how we've taken cleared out the basics from most camp area inside of Louisville example, and now replace it with native exposures, which we also find
Wow. Round of applause. Table in the middle.
Was done and see the space open up and be able to see a lake or be able to see that there's a stream.
Right.
That's there.
Right.
I had the personal experience with English Ivy, that's what got me started in this organization. I was walking through my park that day and I was just Ivy that was growing everywhere in my lake. And that day there was a festival going on and Greg Sykes, who was here, but he was one of the original participants in it, and I had a table. And it was an IMA table, and I stopped and said, "So what are you all doing about this Ivy growing on this park?" Sign up.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Karen Stable?
All our employees, but all the big things that hurt, it's hard motivating neighbors, recognizing the improvements within the department without you being trained on a basic being program, just saying better, reaching out to the volunteer leaders, getting repeat customers, really going to seeing folks get engaged and want to come back, despite the rigor that's involved with the work.
Right.
Is also important. Seeing mentions and basic plan management, the work that all these recently have been popping up in HOA newsletters, reaching out to the public to encourage teams. Then neighbors who don't know to get improvements in their yards or working in parks to remove basic things. Just folks you see getting the message. And I will add as well that from our perspective, my perspective, things to keep you motivated is when it comes time for asking about budgets. The question is no longer why you did this. The question is how, what do you need to get it out? And accepting it. It's that's the these plans. We've moved past trying to educate you. We're in the point where mission is clear, so they want to see what we need to come. What's the need to help? That's not inspiring to me because I'm not explaining what we're doing. I'm explaining what we do. Thank you.
Table back. We're on the first one.
Both workers. Also, having such a long graph, just look back and seeing how it looks. For me, it was standing in the back of the park and being able to see in the woods, but about 6 acres of those in the park. Being able to see sky to the front. Where Martin Park was totally invested in the bush honeysuckle and vine, and you really couldn't see that. So that was a moment for me. And for Joe, it was plants that trees that were planted as at 6 to 8 inches, and now they're as tall as 8 feet.
Wow.
In a couple of years. I also went from the speed series.
Sarah Christie? Anybody from there? Oh, I don't know if you all had anything to share. I didn't want to just skip you.
Yeah. That really big, that's a lot of field. That almost disappeared, now 6 years and it's the forest. The siblings that we went 4 years ago there.
Wow. Wow. So how are we staying motivated? How are you staying motivated? Did I miss your table? No, I didn't. No, you were hoping I would. No, a moment you saw the impact of your work.
Me, get a whole lot of people together. Tree rescues and have one tree after another and do cut stuff. It's so awesome.
So what's the strategy you're using to stay motivated? Anybody, everybody, share. Yes.
You say true figure is next to the stop and take conscious efforts. candidates to the city council. We support each other. For justice. And if you're late for it, all of that, you know, it's not just what it's
Right,
connected.
right. Awesome. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, making use of the folks here, just like this kind of thing is. You know, well, I'm gonna. To get them, but we're gonna work together with our people parts that are in that. Going back and looking at videos, like, thank you guys for posting the meetings online, because I've been able to go back and catch up on years that I wasn't engaged. And then there were all of those kind of resources, and the stuff that you had maybe for us benefit, I think, is really motivating.
Awesome. Anybody else wants to share what keeps you motivated?
And for me to look at, able to cut some vines and then marry them and then come back the next week and see them dead. You know, looking and thinking about what to do with that space next, it really is to me very energizing. And talking to people who encounter me along the way while I'm not working and engaging in discussions about it. They may not be participating, but I keep making them aware and
Right.
making them see what it is that they probably haven't been looking at.
Yes. Yes. Really important.
That's very motivating. So not just something learning to meeting people or myself, actually being able to experience it and enjoy nature and others enjoy.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, connecting, people in our community is a strategy that helps me to keep motivated. Being able to, speak to folks in FCPA, the IMA program, our supervisors being open to talking to us. And our fellow leaders being open to,
Collaborate.
sharing lessons learned.
Mhm.
And, the new Fairfax Prison Group, which is creating a new network of those of us who care about invasive plants. And we have other people around who care and willing to talk to you and do.
Yes.
It keeps you on.
Yep. Peer support is huge. And yes. Sure does. Sure does. My daughter calls me the night gardener because I'll just wait until 7 o'clock and I'm in the garden till 9 o'clock, 9:30. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I feel good. So yes. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Legacy. So you're talking about a real talent pipeline. Yeah. So I'm holding one of my friends, my newest friend's phone. I don't even know her name. What's your name? I didn't look at her name tag. Ivy. And she had a quote that I was just like, I have to share with y'all. And this is what keeps her motivated. So I'm just going to read it. She says, if we address some of the invasive plants, rescue one native tree, or plant one native plant, we are providing food for a few herbaceous insects, who are then the food for a reptile, baby bird, or a mammal. It may be only for this year, but it's worth it. So having said all of that, we are going to do what? Transition to Anastasia.
Yes, so hello. Yeah, so just kind of repeating some of the same conversations you guys just had on what's keeping you motivated doing this type of work in our parklands. Like I said, some of you guys already touched on this, but I kind of just want to, you know, hit the nail on the coffin, right? So Steve's not here with us today, but Steve was saying what keeps him motivated, you know, doing invasive management is seeing the progress and the native plants recover within his park. So seeing native plantings thrive fills him with pride because he realizes they are the future of the park. And he's the site leader for Gilman. Oh, yeah. Betty here for Idlewood Park, and she said at her site, the trees remain uncovered and look healthy, and she believes that it's incredibly rewarding. Joe for Twin Lakes also likes seeing the natives recover at his site. He feels pride at the completion of each workday when he looks at his site and considers what it looked like before he's done, you know, the day's work and how the site is now more a diverse and resilient ecosystem. Again, you know, what keeps you guys motivated is the community you guys are impacting, having those connections with the volunteers, like Tucker was mentioning earlier, for Difficult Run. He's proud to see his site leaders organizing and leading and sharing their knowledge of nature and that they're protecting the ecosystem with so many other volunteers and really impacting the youth. He's proud when he sees elected officials recognize their hard work. And all the work that they've accomplished. In Oakton specifically, they have logged over 690 hours. So that was really nice to see this past year. Greg, who is one of the site leaders for Royal Lake, also believes volunteer connection is what's keeping him motivated when he's impacting young people. And they leave the workday with a genuine interest and have knowledge in biology and ecology. They want to know what works, even when it dashes their previous misconceptions about the ecosystem. These people are far and few, but he hopes that they are the seeds to perpetuate and grow the habitat restoration movement. Again, Mary for Royal Lake, what keeps her motivated is the wildlife, seeing wildlife thrive in her park. These are actually all photographs of species that were at Royal Lake. So she believes it's rewarding to work outside in the fresh air, in the sunshine, surrounded by plants and animals. Her casual volunteers are also really good at finding reptiles like turtles and frogs and snakes. When she's working alone, she's often visited by wildlife like blue herons and ducks and geese. And also there's, you know, beavers at her park. You know, with the herbicide use, that's keeping you guys motivated, killing a lot of plants because it does make a difference. Margaret Fisher, who's here for Chapel Road, believes that that's, you know, what's keeping her motivated for this year using the herbicide. Susan as well for Laurel Hill. She feels supported by the FCPA staff. And yeah. And back to Tika.
So this is the last thing I'm going to ask you to do, and then kind of close out my part of today. And as you think forward to the rest of 2026, if you think about the program, you think about the initiatives that IMA has led and how it is that it has supported you and or the opportunities for improvement. What I want you to do is to use the Post-its that you have at your tables again. And I want, and this is 1 point per sticky. So I want you to think about what are some key initiatives or actions that the IMA unit will need to stop start or continue. So you'll write a stop on one sticky, and then you'll write something they need to start on another sticky, and something that you think they should continue on another sticky. So each person should have 3 stickies, and you're posting them on the appropriate charts on the wall. So all the things you want them to stop doing, you just put that on a sticky and we post it on the corresponding chart on the wall. So what are some things that you're thinking? Initiatives, actions? Yeah, what do you think they need to stop, start, or continue doing? So 1 idea per sticky, and you post it on the chart after you're done.
My brother soon recognized me.
And post your stickies as soon as you're done. The IMA office, yes, in terms of how it supports you, how it does the work, yeah.
We're literally going type things or happen with type with anyone of what I mean, your programming, I mean, see it's in the room and charges in the room. So if any of the things you said we should start, don't top on, remember, Carter was here, John was here, and the whole time in the heart was here, right? So let's be, okay, that's accountability. So let's see what we came up with. All right, so in terms of the actions, the US folks, we have brought stuff, so it must mean that I'm doing something really well. In terms of some of the things that perhaps we stop there and company, there's a show confusion between FCPA groups. So more cooperation between IMA and natural resource management. Some opportunity for collaboration and how to share their, or use guidance on it, whatever confusion exists there. Another spot is wasting your time, the different tools. If you still of that. Another one is going easy on box interviews. So we should have some more stronger actions that we're taking against offenders. Stop asking hard questions. So thinking the vacuum is an effective way to get rid of spotted light. Please come the 10th floor building. For conservation, they find something is next to the income. And this somebody has something pretty, there's like a company that's next to their area. And they literally do that sign on it that says we have to stop. That's you're on a break, just go and stop it because they like cover the ground with it. You're the sun.
And I would literally take bricks and those feathers were like, the first one I smushed and the parents like because I'm like this, and then I'm like, they told me to do it. So that's what's happening. And I went to go and told my daughter. And every time I was so confused, sound. It's anyways. What do you need to start doing? Aggressive attack on invasive species like mother trees. We need to start working with SCPA to enforce no dumping. We need to start more outreach to SCPS to get more students involved in IMA, reach out to eco clubs, green teams, etc. Start providing dumpsters again. Once I wish they had more control over, build capacity, leading to more volunteering, case the new IMA. We probably trying to get offices here. So case in the new IMA. So, so we can't. We need to read all that right. It's that's certainly, start adding more parks and volunteer leaders. Start putting off management of widespread invasives such as the autumn olives, the calorie repair, and the management. And then, of course, start using dumpsters, focus on specific species for treatment. Develop planting plans for trees, shrubs, and ground covers. Provide planting plans, so we see planting plans again, entryway generals. Replacement programs for old tools or refurbished, help get boundary surveys, especially where parks and back to private lands. The big one, start like native flower seeds, not just grasses. Start having groups of volunteers to help with herbicide application. Start coordinate with the county when they are doing construction, etc. Make sure they all know which are the herbicides. Start allowing tree restaurants to lead groups. Help IMA site leaders cultivate relationships with area managers. Acknowledge receipt of reports. Would like to have an electronic record of water submission. Start herbicide use to expand folio in pilot sites and cities. Start more outreach to park users about how invasive damage the environment, example, educate sports fees at these park facilities. Let us know how we can help you. There you go. Start volunteer training on small battery and saws. Start local drop off, pick up some tools, parents is very far. And then start bamboo treatment on small art sites. So I think I was. Yes. Start bamboo. Treatment. So what are the areas or actions or initiatives that we want them to continue? We want them to continue and expand herbicide use, continue being able to limit group size, continue to provide dumpsters, website success stories, some herbicides, and remember for us to get the stories, you have to share them. And we have to share the pictures and all that kind of stuff, so you got a role to play there. Continue to use herbicides, engaging and supporting volunteer teams, start assisting for experienced volunteers to be the park managers or contractors. Continue expanding unique tree restaurants in all 140 parks and a lot more major sites. Continue being amazing and supporting leaders. Continue herbicides and provide large supplies. Dumpsters, we want those to be continued. Continue clearing and planting native clearing and planting native species in our parks. Both educational opportunities, continue doing outreach to schools for community service. Always, in fact, I'm going to ask my daughter what's going on at Shanghai. And over there, and yeah, and we'll for make it speaking.
and continue OSS. Continue expand herbicide training and program, providing tools and gears and vests and IV treatment box spray, make public know about what species are focused. Continue providing training for herbicide application and invasive plant education, invasive evolution, yes. Continue with new plans on ramp up new animal leaders and find a way to bring them up to speed, concurrent with their tree rescue training in cases of community and super volunteers. Continue being awesome. I think that's so again, I feel something. That stands for the information of taking time. I mean, intentionally thinking about what do we need to stop doing, continue doing, and of course start doing as we seek to improve the work we do, and also think more intentionally about how we can support the business because we're all in this together. So running on a hard time, it's not let's bring the time for anything or who's not going to have to work.
Okay, we're gonna do some updates and announcements, but again, before she goes, a big, huge thank you to Tamika for the great presentation that she did today. All right, so I think one of the start doings was get volunteers to help us onboard new volunteers. That we're gonna start doing that soon. We haven't sent it out yet, but we're looking at March 4th or 5th, which I think is like a Wednesday, Thursday, to do an online training for the site leaders that reached out to us already saying they were interested in being tier 4s, which is the volunteer trainer. So we'll be doing an online training on those days. So if there's anyone that hasn't already reached out to us to say they're interested, let us know today or send us an email so that we can send that invitation out to you too. Oh, click. Yeah, and that's what the tier 4 will do is help us onboard new tree rescuers, new site leaders that want to start a new IMA site, whether they want to lead groups or just work independently. And then help them not just with the onboarding and training, but also practice ID and make sure that they know what they have in their park and that they're cutting down the right things. And then following through with how to plant natives and how to protect the plantings with maintenance over the years. Okay. Oh, and click. Another just annual reminder, if you see anything in the parks that looks like it doesn't belong there, but it's not trash, it might be a broken piece of pottery or a broken bowl or a cup or even a horseshoe ring, take a picture of it, make a note of the location. And when you're taking a picture, try to get some size reference in the picture frame, like a quarter, your keys, if you happen to have a ruler out there with you, and then send it to the archaeology team and their email address is right there. Click. This is, I think, one we haven't really mentioned before because you're working just manual tools and with volunteers, you're not really clearing a huge land of air, like a huge area to worry about this. But so we should not be clearing more than 2,500 square feet in one go. And I mean to the ground, like to soil. So if you're clearing a whole acre of bush honeysuckle, that's fine because you're not exposing the soil. But if you have about 50 feet by 50 feet, which is approximately half of a basketball court, we would need to have a permit and report done through Land Development Services. But that's not really something that you guys are doing. But if you have a huge patch of like Pachysandra and you're uprooting it completely, that would lead to bare soil. And that's something you'd have to work with us first before we can get that done. And then we'd have to follow through with the report and planting and spreading soil immediately, or seeds. Click. All right. Wait, can you go back? Yeah. So then, and also in general, we should probably not plant in right of ways because as we're learning,
this area hasn't been touched for many years, but then a sewer line needs construction, and where plantings have been done, they get uprooted because of this construction that is necessary, but something to keep in mind. And also in general, the park operations teams, which we should give a shout out to because they're the ones that picked up the 34,000 bags that you all filled. Yeah. Part of their maintenance plans is to do mowing along trails, and it may not be something that's done every year. So you think, okay, I can clear this of invasives, plant or spread seeds, and then in a year or two it gets mowed. So in general, they have they're permitted to mow within 6 feet of the trail edge. So just keep that in. Clearing it of invasives is still something we want to do to prevent those seeds from spreading further into the park where you are planting, and we can spread seeds on the edge, but we should not be planting. Unless it's like grasses or herbaceous plants that can get mowed and will come back up next year. Yes, yes, we are working on the manual so that we can have that ready for when the tier 4s are helping us train the new volunteers and can use that as a guide and like a reference.
Easement, you.
Okay. Yeah, and then we wanted, because the program has been around for so long and many of you have been here for so many years, the online trainings you did 10 or so years ago, we want to go through a refresher training with you all so that it's fresh in your mind again, especially the first aid training and the customer service training, because for us, you're our volunteers, but for the general public, the park users that you see that stop to talk to you, they're your customers essentially. So you're not just volunteering and working in the parks, but you're also representing the parks. The herbicide percentage, that's a change that we have to make on the labels that are written on the bottles. So right now it says 53%, we have to update it to 50%. The actual solution that we're giving you is not changing, it's just the label. It's just a correction that we have to make. So that's something you'll be changing when you submit your survey reports for those of you that are doing herbicide. And we'll send out an email when that happens so that you're prepared. Safety reminders, just the usual when you're out in your parks volunteering, especially leading groups. Remind the volunteers to be careful, do tick checks, and avoid any areas where there's poison ivy, or if you know of any yellow jackets. Last year was a bad season for all of us with yellow jackets. And we have first aid kits for anyone that doesn't have one. You can pick one up. We can get you a new one later. And we also have replacements for anything that you use inside the kits, whether it's Band-Aids, gloves, ice packs, anything like that. Just let us know and we can get the replacements for you. And then again, just like every year, please report your hours so that we can brag about it and use it to increase our funding and support. And also the herbicide use is legally required that we all staff and volunteers report use on. And I think that's that's the last thing. Yeah. Again, thank you so much. We did figure out the audio situation, so Anastasia is gonna play the video for you. And then we can open it up for discussions and anything else you guys want to talk about. Any questions?
It's time to trauma, hopefully.
2000 when this became a park. By the time before that, the whole field here did not exist. It was completely overgrown with bush honeysuckle, wing bush, burning bush, brambles, you name that type of blackberry and everything else. And it took us a couple of months using inside and in tools to remove that material. So this spot right here, which is a playground in area 3 came and dragged it off. Now in the years, we done that, not currently mowed by the county, as part of the mowing process. This area over here, combined with a little bit over there and a little bit over there, measured it out with 1 acre. I think running bamboo is grown for it. But very mature bamboo was put in 40s and 50s by the pond family as a all the kids very every on the county work with basic IBC, basic plant control company. They came in with all the state laws and cut down. I lost count of the number of trash bin receptacles that were filled with bamboo material. Since that time, we removed the keep after bamboo that tends to come back in certain places. So we've also planted over 500 native plants in this area, everything from shrubs, boards, so including a butterfly garden, and then we're trying to grow a pollinator garden. We put in a couple of bluebird houses, 3 actually in this area. Got a bat house right there, still no bats, but the house is there. And we're trying to educate our neighbors. Many neighbors, many people think of the park as Central Park. That's highly manicured, right? The lawns are mowed and, the hedges are trimmed and have that in your mind. I'm trying to educate the neighbors, especially one. All the brambles and stuff throwing every which way with this actual word. I put a little line there and try to help neighbors as they're walking through here understand the process of natural succession. And we're managing that a little bit by bringing in native plants to help accelerate that. Again, keeping in mind an overall goal, promote what I call the 4 Bs. Bees, birds, butterflies, and bats. We like to get natives in there. And last year, I did see for the 2nd year in a row, not only bluebirds and nested yet, but also monarch butterflies and some of the milkweed that we planted. Never seen before. So those are the kinds of things we're doing in this area here with the help of the park board.
Perfect timing. Well, thank you so much. This was wonderful. Really, really great presentation. So glad that we could bring Tamika here to do this activity. We hope it was helping you, whether it's to give you a few more tools in your toolbox to help your volunteers when you're out there, or yourself when you're going through things, whether it's managing your IMA site or the difficulties in our world and our climate around us. So hopefully that was helpful and uplifting, because that's what we want to do. We want to support each other here. We're here to support you, staff are, because we're so grateful for all you do, the conversations you have, the people you touch, and the work you do. And so really, really big, huge thank you. And this, what a great celebration for 20 years. The IMA program started, with staff just saying, hey, we have so many people who want to do this. They're really interested in volunteering, and they had a study, like, how can we best create a program that will support volunteers and do the work that volunteers are asking to do, that we can't get enough labor to be able to support our parkland. And so that's how the IMA program came up, and we've been funded through the Board of Supervisors all these years and continue to be funded, and grateful for that. So yeah, here's to another 20 years. So thank you so much. And I just wanted to open up these last 30 minutes, if we want to, just to continue some discussion, to talk about some of these ideas of the start-stop and continue ideas or any other things. If there's announcements that some of our volunteers have to share with others, whether it's the Fairfax Prism or other things going on, this would be an opportunity to open that up. Some really great news has come about with the momentum happening in Richmond, and so that's really exciting. I got an email from the Blue Ridge Prism saying, hey, this is the week to go and call your delegates, so that's a really cool thing. So there's a lot of stuff happening, so I just wanted to open up the floor so that we could have some conversation. Yes, Sarah.
You're going to want to tell them thank you, because I checked the LIS system this morning, and the service is still HB. In both. But there is, I think, a language difference that needs to be reconciled. So thank them for passing it and ask them to please reconcile the definition of invasive plants to include the EGRR species, which are not yet on the list of invasive plants recognized by the state. So that's one thing. The bill defining noxious weeds that had, if there's a commercial viability, you couldn't list it as a noxious weeds. That one has passed the subcommittee in the agriculture in the House, if it's HC 109. It's passed the subcommittee and now the full subcommittee by 10 to 0. So it's now going to be in front of the House of Delegates. So that's good. Looks good. And the UDOT and highway, whether they can plant invasive plants or not, that passed the House. It's HB 88, and it has been referred to appropriations. So we're waiting to see the fiscal impact of that. Oh, and then there's a bill, SB 163, voluntary use of herbicide on state lands. And that is, that passed the Senate by a block vote 38 to 0. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
To see some map. One has to do with probably, I think now with this roads.
The Barrows, yeah.
Working on, I know that he is finding unique species, but it hasn't been mapped. I don't know what's holding that up. I'd like to see that in case it has something to do with my area.
So unfortunately, I mean, it'd be really neat to do, but unfortunately there's regulations in the state to protect those rare communities because there could be poachers and things like that. And so it's protected information. Yeah.
The other thing, we talked about green corridors, which I immediately realized I was right in the middle, going between Berkeley and South Run Parks. And my housing development and my IMA is directly that. So that green corridor is important. And where are other ones in the county that need to be focused upon that maybe aren't? So that's another map.
So you're asking where are the highest quality parcels of land that would need the protection between? All right. Oh, okay. As corridors. Yeah. Go ahead, John wants to.
Where we are working to provide connectivity, provide connectivity both for residents and provide reading. That's the social side of that. But to supplement that, the county as a whole is undertaking an effort both led by Public Works and Park Authority is serving as a key partner to map natural resources countywide, particularly looking at areas, islands, parcels of high quality habitat. We're working with a consultant to develop a model that will integrate not only like aerial imagery, the rare plant data that we've been collecting, as well as other resources from the state and federal level to identify where these high quality patches habitat exist both on public and potentially on private land, but the scope of that project is still being refined. So when it comes to like the wildlife corridors and green spaces, green connectivity, we're hoping that that will shine some more light on that because corridors that, as you described them, haven't been defined within the park authority yet or within the county as a whole, but this is certainly gets that to that mission.
And I have a couple of announcements and then one question for you that's random. So the random question is, at 2,500 square feet, is that like, you said at one go, or can I do it this month and the next month I do another 2,500 square feet? Or what do I do with that?
Yeah, and I think as if you're not doing it all in one go and clearing land all at one time, as I understand it, if you're spreading seed, we're covering the ground. Well, I guess that's the RPA permit. That's the RPA requirement. This is land development. So as far as I know, it's not an all one shot. I think we'd have to double check on that one, but
Yes.
spreading seed and.
It's not clearly defined as far as like temporal components, right? So like one day you clear an area, the next day you clear an area. It's really that 2,500 square feet is not really designed for projects like ours. It's designed for minor construction that would need a minor site plan. So that being said, it's a little squishy as far as, what defines it, but and even some, depending on how it's like the moving plans in general might, qualify us for that. But for the most part, LDS, who administers that minor site plan requirement, sort of works hand in glove with us on our IMA program. But if a complaint came through because an area had been scalped and denuded, which is most likely where any complaints to land development services would come from if it was an area that looked like it had just been destroyed or like dug up, then we would be responsible for getting a minor site plan. So keeping it within that 2,500 square feet, say like, no more than that for day. I mean, it's unlikely that it's going to trigger that minor site plan requirement. And if the issue comes up with LDS from our activities, then we'll ask them to refine the timeline for that. But generally speaking, as long as you're not like, disturbing the soil literally, then we should be okay. As long as it's within that smaller footprint and not almost. That's as far as I have. You might get it in the meetings. That's the understanding of that.
And I think it's helpful if we're spreading seed. So if you have a patch of Pakistan or English ivy or something, and you're gonna be disturbing soil in a larger quantity of space, like just have that on hand, spread it out, cover the soil as much as possible. And I feel like we're covering our ground or behinds a little bit more that way.
Thank you. Two things we're putting on our spring tree rescue extravaganza, March 21st through April 12th, just like November, the week of action. November, we have 26 events. We already have 40 people signed up to do events for the spring, and we want them everywhere. So in your HOA, in your farm, could be tree rescuers, could be other kind of educational stuff. So please think about what you might be doing. We'll probably be doing something in that period anyway. You might let us know so we can put it on the publicity list. I have these sign up sheets. If you haven't signed up yet, appreciate you doing that just so that us in the Tree Rescuers Prison know what parks you're in and can reach you, because it gives us an opportunity to collaborate and form collaboration. So for instance, if there's an HOA that's doing a project and it's right next to the park, we could tell them, oh yeah, there's also a leader, that kind of thing. Or somebody who needs some help with their HOA project, who should we ask who might be available to help? Thank you.
So I heard when we were going over this start and continue. A lot of people were commenting about getting the tree rescuers and getting more tree rescuers out there. So part of that is that we need people to help with training. So part of the training program, the in-person part, is requires that they do 2 training events. Some of them have those. Right now, IMA leaders are our biggest people that train, actually they're the only people with anesthesia that's training, that training. And it would be really, really helpful to have people that we could, to help with training. So if you are interested in getting to your rescuers, helping in your park, or you're interested in helping out the program, so we get more tree rescuers out there, you can let me know in the station. And yeah, we're interested in getting more people out there. I also have some ways of advertising. So
And that would also, if you are interested in training for rescuers, that would also fall under tier 4. So if you are interested in that and haven't let me know, just let me know and I can send you that, for the.
So I wanted to understand you're responsible for those specimens over there. Is that true?
Yes, a couple years ago and since in the summer interns, I've been collecting specimens as they're doing our surveys and then pressing them and laminating them for us. So we're still collecting these. And then we use them for outreach events and we have them on tables for people that walk by to actually look at what it is that you guys are all moving.
I want to congratulate you. I think that's a wonderful. One other word of encouragement, I'm really excited that you're proposing retraining. And I'll point to what the master naturalists do is that they require all master naturalists every year to do recertification of how to protect children and you're doing the same kinds of things with things that you care about. And I think that's a good way of making sure that we're all reminded of our role and responsibility as people.
But the bullet about applying herbicide to temperature, cold. I had an experience, maybe had that too. So there was a wisteria at historic Centerville Park. I'm John Wilson, by the way. And it was below freezing all night. It's kind of spiked up to 40 degrees during the day. And I was out there applying. When you put the herbicide on, you can kind of tell when it sucks it in. But in a couple of the finds, I was seeing that it was pooling. So I think that you're on the edge or it's not taking it down. That was my experience.
Yeah, if the ground is frozen, that's another sign. Like it could be 40 degrees, but the ground is frozen, you shouldn't be applying. Because
The ground is
okay, but still maybe cold. Yeah.
Is that for 24 hours? Like has to stay above 24 hours or just for the first day? Or until night?
I don't have that knowledge. I don't know if there's studies like that. I think it's either, all I know is either it has to be above 40 degrees and the ground shouldn't be frozen. So it's hard to know like how frozen, how long has it been frozen? How long does it take for the ground to thaw? Probably all depends on the moisture. There's all these factors that fall into play here. So it's hard to really say. So maybe like what John, just watching how it.
So sometimes it's above freezing. You can actually apply it when it's freezing that day. So you can tell it's sucking it in.
Day 4 or it's gonna rain the next day. That will obviously. Your day after above freezing, so it would be.
Yeah, this is just a question, maybe John or Fleur can comment on it, but the IMA program is just one little sliver, I imagine, of the county's efforts to control invasive plants. Maybe you could share with us some of the other efforts or initiatives that we're a part of, so we get a bigger picture.
Yeah. So I'll start the part with the I'll start. Thanks. Yeah, that's Sherry. So the park authority, most of the invasive plant management occurs in the natural resources branch, which is our branch. So Darko, Dave, Lucas, Gloria, Patricia, Stasia, and many others. We work together to manage invasives through a number of different efforts. IMA is the biggest invasive plant program in the county. It's also the biggest volunteer program in Park Authority, I believe. So it's sort of our flagship invasive plant management effort. I kind of view that in partnership with tree rescuers as one and the same there. We have what I call a heavy lift restoration program called Helping Our Land Heal. And that program deals primarily with managing invasive plants and restoring sites that are either heavily impacted by invasives to the point where volunteers may have limited ability to manage them. It requires heavy duty equipment to get in there. And sometimes for bolstering or reinforcing extremely high quality or habitat for areas adjacent to rare plants. So it's a combination of those two things. And that happens at a handful of sites over typically a 5 to 10 year period, rotating as we progress through these capital projects. So it's invasive plant management, but it's very site specific with a clear restoration goal in a distinct area. So think of places like Little Hill, restorations there, Lake Fairfax, Huntley Meadows, and you would continue to expand our efforts within that program. So part of our selection process or our considerations for restoration areas oftentimes is looking at, is there an IMA site nearby to help support? So we selected Frying Pan Farm Park 5 years ago, that restoration project recently completed. And as part of the considerations there was there an IMA team lead out there to help support it? And another consideration is, were there sites that could help support that as well? Because our team is small, so having that extra support is huge. Then after those projects are completed, which typically, again, takes about 5 years, the restoration projects go into the Landscape Legacy and Sustainability Program, which is a program that was started 2 or 3 years ago now. That's our maintenance program, essentially, or ecological maintenance program. Again, primarily dealing with invasive plant management. That's typically what goes with that. So after the heavy lift restorations are done, then the ecologists and the rest of the Landscape Legacy Program foster those restorations into the future, into perpetuity, whether it's meadow mowing, burning, spot treatment of invasive plants, reforestation efforts to include release cuts, supplementary planting, deer protection, and just tons of invasive plant management. Those are the 3 big ones. And then, of course, Patricia's other work with Atlantis, we get funding specifically to go after Tree of Heaven from the state. So we spend about $100,000 a year just killing Tree of Heaven. And then we also receive $400,000 a year to just kill running bear. So those are 2 species or genera specific efforts that we've been funded for over the past 3 or 4 years. We've really grown a lot over the past 5 years, and specifically the realm of invasive plants. Other groups, primarily stormwater, are the other folks who are doing a lot of invasive plant management, typically associated with their stream restoration or stormwater construction projects. They're not going out and doing invasive plant management unless they're coming into a project. They're very meticulous with their work, I find, when it comes to killing and removing invasives and reestablishing high quality natural habitat. Urban forestry also does invasive species management, but that's usually forest pests in most cases. But they do oversee construction projects and establish requirements for 10-year tree canopy cover. And if there are invasive vines as part of those development projects, then they require the developers, which is sometimes Park Authority, to suppress or remove those invasives so that we can be sure that we have proper canopy. And I'm probably missing some other efforts. Those are the ones that come to mind right now. Our branch also does inventory of high quality natural resources and wildlife. So that tells us where the good stuff is, helps us prioritize what we want to protect. And we also have a plan review branch, which is one person. But we do protection as a priority for the team. So looking to see where development would hit parklands, being cognizant of the quality of the habitat there, what we can do to avoid, minimize, or mitigate for that development of parkland, which often means including invasive species management plans as part of potential development projects as required. Yes.
Just maybe this is necessary. Just curious, I know that besides municipal trailer, it has a certain rubric or matrix follows to make sure that it's still being environment. Is there coordination with trails, from the DOT side on things like invasive removal, on things like planning them so that they're not gonna be collaborating with special spaces? Is that getting any better since, you know, maybe previous lapses in there?
Yeah, I've seen DOT, like the trail, the major transportation trail organization works with us on development plans and overall strategies for trail design and planning in county as a whole. And then, yeah, we are involved in those projects when it comes to specific site selection, but things we're trying to avoid. And we're still working with them as partners to bolster the invasive plant management requirements, tree replanting requirements, mitigation, things like that. Same thing internally with park trails. We work closely with our trails manager to ensure that, you know, as we're doing site selection for trails that we're avoiding, particularly high quality areas, really high quality areas, or minimizing disturbance and resource protection. Not building trails directly next to streams so that they get washed away or they're impacting water quality or causing more fragmentation than necessary in that system. So there's still work to be done though.
And are there really a lot of? Is it, we're talking aspirational, like potential?
Like that countywide setting? Yeah, I mean, yes, there are a lot of high quality areas relative to the amount of development that we have here in the county. A lot of them might be in places you wouldn't expect to see them, which is, you know, kind of the point. We're trying to suss out, okay, like what's left beyond what we're actively protecting or restoring. What do we need to keep our eyes on? And part of that natural resource, that overall natural resources plan is when we're selecting a site for restoration, currently, we're looking at federal and state resource information, and then we're also incorporating our own inventories program. Someone mentioned Nelson DeVeros, you know, his information. Then what we know about ourselves, about the nature of our parks. But what's not included there is, in many cases, how those restoration efforts fit into the overall framework of the natural communities surrounding our park, right? So we have private property, we have commercial property, we have additional parkland and other public spaces, but we don't have a good inventory or awareness of what those spaces hold as far as psychology. So we're trying to put those pieces together in order to better direct our own restoration efforts so that we're like fitting into the overall high quality natural communities in a meaningful way, and tying into reduce fragmentation, increase green, you know, connectivity, wildlife, corridor connectivity. So there's still a lot of work to be done. But if you're curious, you can look in the historical imagery available on Jade, go back to 1933, and then get up another photo of aerial imagery of today and overlay them and see which trees are still there from 1933. And that'll give you generally a pretty good idea of where the high quality spots are, because the trees were there in 1933 and they're still there today without interruption. That means that as far as Fairfax is concerned, that's pretty old, I'm not gonna say old growth, but pretty old. So, because the whole area was clear cut, during the Civil War, pretty much, multiple times, yeah, for agriculture, Civil War. So yeah, that'd be a good proxy, and that's one of the big things.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, John, for coming, and staying with us, and for all of you for being here today and for all the amazing things you do. About 4 o'clock, and I have to go catch a basketball game playing today. But thank you so much. Please enjoy some more cake, tea, or anything. We're going to be packing up. Make sure you grab your shirts and your vest and any supplies you might need. One quick announcement. Two things. You guys reminded me of something. We're talking about herbicide. If you haven't used the buckstorm blaster in a while, especially if it's cold out before you go back out, shake it up, redistribute all the ingredients that are in there so that you get a good herbicide application on your cut. And also, if you haven't used it since you received it at the first training last year, bring it back so we can give you a fresh one so that you can make sure it's working effectively. And then the announcement was we do have some funding this year to get dumpsters again. So let us know if you want to go. These bowls and cups are from Public Works, their Zero Waste Party Pack. So we can get them back to the